me again. Sitting and drinking, sometimes thinking. So, we had the World Trade Organization coming out today or yesterday, can't remember, saying that, predicting the future again, of course, a new fear-mongering tactic. There's going to be a cyber attack. There's going to be a cyber attack. There's going to be a cyber attack. I don't know how these people know how to tell the future all the time. Maybe it's because they create all these false flags. Maybe. Just maybe. The demons of man need to keep on portraying the fear, the lie. Ugh, cats. Woo. So yeah. So now that their COVID hoax narrative is kind of losing ground, they had to manufacture a new fear-mongering tactic to keep everybody under heel. So everybody needs to worry now about cyber attacks. So I'm sure that there's many software companies out there rubbing their hands together going, yeah, now we can make money because now everybody's scared they're going to get attacked. It is scary though. If you watched my video a day or two ago, the internet and cable went down in my area for 14 hours, 15 hours, 16 hours, something like that. It was horrible. It was horrible. And even the day after, all the debit machines were broken and they couldn't get any money or cash from the bank or anything because it's all connected to the interweb. Everything's connected to the interweb. So yes, it is a scary thought that there could be cyber attacks. But, I think the best thing people can do actually is coming from a guy who makes videos on YouTube, is that we probably could just forget about the internet and try to get away from it. I hope you guys like my Punisher toque. It's a really good toque, man. It's keeping my head really warm. It's too warm. But I don't have enough confidence to show the world my baldness. So, there, that's better. That's better, yeah. That's better. There we go. There we go. That's way better. But yeah, so it's so the World Trade Organization is saying that we're going to have a cyber attack. It's amazing how these people know the future all the time. How they predict the future all the time. It's amazing. They must have like a crystal ball or a few shaman or something telling them all this stuff. And of course it's the typical villains, China and Russia. I didn't know Russia was so technologically advanced. I guess everybody needs a bad boy. Everybody needs a villain. Chilling with the villain. But yeah, no, it's a crazy reality here. this world has gone mad, has gone insane with low-thinking people. You know, I don't mean to disparage anyone, but the bottom line is that the human race as a whole has gotten very docile. You know, 30 years of indoctrination through college and university and the school system from kinder to college, our people have become weak and not very educated, nor do they have the cognitive ability that they used to have. It's like we have a bunch of people now, young people now, like the millennials. They can't even think for themselves. You know, I don't mean to disparage any, because I've met a few millennials that are actually quite decent people, but I'm Generation X. So I was just on the cusp of Generation X. I don't know what's the difference between Generation X and Millennial and Generation Z. I don't know. But I think I'm Generation X. I grew up in the 90s. I was a young boy and a young man in the 90s. So does that make me Generation X? I don't know. But my generation, we made great movies. We basically developed the internet. We basically created the internet culture. We made strides for a much greener earth, and we still had our forefathers' due diligence, and men were men and girls were girls, and you know, we were shifting, but men were men, and you know, my generation was the first generation really to grow up without a mom and pa at home. You know, my generation was like the first real generation that grew up with a single mom or whatever, and which created a lot of problems for the humanity at large. You can say what you will about it, but you know, nobody should be in a relationship that makes them unhappy. But on the same hand, with all these distractions and everything now, that it's really easy just to forsake any life that you can possibly build with someone. You know, because, you know, my mom, she was a young woman in the 60s, the feminist revolution, and you know, and you know, she decided to drink that Kool-Aid, and you know, and she became unreasonable, for lack of a better word. She became unreasonable. And then you had men expecting free love. And since the feminist revolution, anyways, they've systematically stripped men of any dignity. And so we have a bunch of millennial men going around wearing skinny jeans, and their balls are so small that they can't even produce enough testosterone to ask a woman out for a drink. You know, I don't understand I do understand the plight of the millennial, because you know, I'm in the same boat kind of. we've grown up in this generation the generation of inflation. That should be coined. That should be a T-shirt. The generation of inflation. At least when I was really young, like in my 20s, I could still buy a house in my hometown for under $100,000. Now, to buy a house in my hometown, I would need at least $230,000 just for a bungalow shack. So I understand the plight of the millennial, but they've been indoctrinated into this age of ignorance, and Generation X, we had hope still that the world was going to get better, but as it turned out, it got a lot worse for everyone. And I know these millennials love to blame the boomers and zoomers, but the boomers, I guess, because they can't retire and there's not enough work for Generation X and millennials. The truth of the matter is, the boomers, they're going through the same problems that we're having. They didn't save enough money when they were young because they thought the golden age was going to last forever. So they never saved enough money, and now they still have to work and just try to pay ends meet because, when my mom was a young woman, minimum wage was $3 an hour, and she could pay rent. She could look after me. She could look after me and my brother. It was tough going, but thankfully my mother was beautiful, and and I thankfully thank the gods, that my mom was very beautiful, and she was very desirable for men, and she was able to find a good man to help her along the way. But when my mom was young, she made $3 an hour, but she could pay for rent, she could take care of 2 boys, she could buy groceries. Now, $3 will buy you a soda pop. That's what it is. It's actually cheaper to drink beer than drink soda pop, believe it or not. Well, you got to keep them sedated, right? That's why this whole COVID 1984 thing is, if you've noticed, only big box stores were allowed to stay open, and liquor stores and cannabis shops in Canada. You got to keep them sedated and keep China's economy going. By supporting Walmart, you support child slavery and sweatshops in China and Bangladesh, and so good on those people who love shopping at Walmart, while Mom and Pa are struggling just to make ends meet. And now that they raised minimum wage in Canada, I've mentioned this in other videos before, is that now Main Street is completely dead. So life used to be a lot easier for people like my mom when she was a young woman, and it was a lot easier for my dad as well. Like, my dad was making good money at the time. He used to be able to make $20 an hour, and you used to be able to have a new car in the driveway. You used to be able to buy a house. You used to be able to take care of a family of 4, and it was tight, but it was still doable. Now you got to have both parents working, and those that are lucky enough to have both parents, those who are lucky enough to have both parents, those who are lucky enough to have both parents, those who are lucky enough to have both parents, they, in this certain lighting, I kind of look like Willie Nelson. But anyways, the age of inflation, the decimation of society, the family home, and the family. So I understand the plight of the millennial, but it's just going to get a lot worse. Like I said earlier, you have the World Trade Organization coming out, creating more fear porn and saying, "Oh, we're going to have a cyber attack. You better watch out. We're going to have a cyber attack," because their COVID narrative is falling apart. So they have to keep everybody under heel and keep fear mongering as much as possible. The globalists need to get their agenda through. They interfered with the U.S. election, obviously. There's more and more evidence today. Giuliani came out saying that the fraud is so, to use one of POTUS's slogans, it's bigly. The fraud is so bigly. He got his red wave. I hope everybody knows that he got his red wave, right? But they had to try. They didn't expect it because, like usual, the left only projects, and they underestimated the POTUS and the will of the people. Because the will of the people want Donald Trump. The will of the people want Donald Trump. And but the globalists can't have another Donald Trump. They need a sleepy, creepy Joe Biden. And the starkness between the two cabinets is it's ridiculous. Like when you look at Trump's cabinet, they're all very nice looking people. Like all of them, like some of the most beautiful people that you can possibly see. Like Kayleigh McEnany and what is her name? Faith Hope? Or Faith Hicks or Hope Hicks? Hope Hicks? Another gorgeous, but another beautiful, beautiful woman. But and then you look at the Obama cabinet, and they're all swamp creatures. Like you have these weird looking. I don't mean to disparage anybody because they're not attractive or whatever, but he has globalists, just swamp creatures. Like the contrast is just like so apparent. Maybe this is all part of Trump's plan, is to give everybody a test run of what a Harris Biden presidency will be like, and it's not good, folks. It's not good at all. All you have to do, actually, just go on the Googles or whatever, and look who he has in his cabinet. They're all swamp creatures. They're all establishment. They're all cronies. They're all evil. They're all evil and disgraceful human beings. And you shouldn't judge. You don't know nothing. You're a Canadian. What do you know, eh? I know people. And when you look at the Obama cabinet, well, basically it is. You have Condoleezza Rice going to be there, and basically it's going to be Obama. And then you have Obama coming out, spitting his forked tongue, saying that we need to burn books. I'm using it as a metaphor because he's telling Zuckerberg and Dorsey that they need to start censoring the internet, censoring people like myself and anybody else who has a dissenting opinion, who's not far left and believe in the Church of Woke and shit. And then you have Big Mama Mike coming out, basically race baiting and fueling more and more hate. You know, and yet they will let, you know, they'll let like YouTube channels exist like The Cut. They did a video the other day saying that you know, basically it's completely racist, telling everybody just fueling more hate. But if you say no, I don't believe that Joe Biden won the election, you get censored, right? Like, but yet you have this YouTube channel Cut, like very much racist hate speech. If you really want to, you know, split the hairs there, it's absolutely hate speech. But just because they're people of color, they don't get punished for it. They don't have to be accountable for their outright racism and their absolute hate speech. If you really want to fucking, you know, split the hairs, just because you're a person of color doesn't mean that you're not racist. And if the roles were reversed and you had white people saying the exact same thing about black people, they would be shut down, censored, and probably fined and thrown in jail for hate speech. But just because they're people of color, they can say this garbage and spew this hate and this anger towards one group of people that happen to look like me. It's unacceptable. This is the world that we have, that the left has wanted for us, to create a race war, to create hate and divide and ignorance amongst the men. There's going to be civil war, folks, and there's already a race war brewing. It's happening because this is what the globalists want. They want to divide and conquer, and this is the agenda. And so I'm out of beer, so I'm out of here. Living late.